And I'm going to say a big old welcome to everyone to come on to the tasting tonight. I think I know most of you guys. My name is Shawn, and I am joined tonight with three different partners here. I got Harmony, Curt, Sammy. They're those three are more of the heart of the whiskey section, but I always like to shove my nose and face in here whenever I can because I don't know why not. It's kind of fun. But it's kind of a different tasting tonight, kind of fun. We something we gauge the interest in with other tastings, and people seem to think that it was something they kind of wanted to do, and I wanted to do this for a little while. This is kind of like it's not really a head-to-head. It's kind of like a staff picks where we got to kind of open a handful of bottles that we wanted to open and haven't had a chance to really taste or experience. Andrew gets to do it with all the rare and old stuff because he's the head honcho and he can approve those big expensive tastings. We have to do it with these ones that are maybe not quite so expensive, but I mean, either way, the experience is going to be about the same. Well, not the same, you know what I mean, though. Well, it's going to be the same because the whiskey might not be as expensive, but the company is way better. So, you balance it out. Um, yeah. So 8 drams. I believe Harmony put the order in front of you there. So I'm not gonna spend too much time doing other stuff. Oh shoot, you know what? I am gonna spend a little bit of time pouring my drams because I completely forgot to do that. But the first one we're gonna start with is a Glen Grant, a nice old Glen Grant, actually, from the Whiskey Agency, one of those semi-obscure Euro bottlers that we happen to get a bunch of in the store, but we don't always get to try all of them. And this is one of the ones that we hadn't really got a chance to open. And I don't know who picked this one. Who picked this one?
I picked this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I picked this one because in my few short years with Kensington Wine Market, I've had the pleasure to try some older Glen Grants and independently bottled ones, and I've really enjoyed them. I've secretly been picking them for my benefit in private tastings as well. And when I saw that we had one on the shelf that we hadn't opened, I got really excited. 1998, it's a 25-year in a hogshead, and I got excited to try it. So
Yeah. Glen Grant's one of those distilleries where nowadays we see like quite a few independent bottlers, but um, they recently relaunched their brand as well to honestly actually some pretty good praise from some of the reviewers out there. I don't really listen to a ton of reviewers, so I'm not going to quote anybody or cite anybody, but it also happens to be a favorite of one of the bottlers that's kind of close to our heart at the shop. It's Angus and his whiskey sponge. He's actually building a distillery right now with the hopes of recreating old school Glen Grants, which is kind of cool.
yeah.
Okay, all right. I've got mine poured out, so now I can nose properly with y'all.
Way to kick it off for me.
Well, I'm getting like that malt, like a malty floral note. There's a little bit of spice in there as well, which is kind of
It's
nice.
really cool.
Yeah, it's really floral, but it doesn't put me off. Like it's not going into like soapy in a way that I don't like.
I'm gonna make something kind of contradictory here. This is absolutely in my wheelhouse for whiskey in the one sense, but in the same sense, I don't like floral whiskey, so it puts it way outside my wheelhouse. But I love this. I love this. It's pretty. It's delicate. There's some cool peach tones behind it and stuff. And I would never guess Glen Grant in a million years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You say peach, I get like pear juice as well, and like one of
Oh,
those like Tetra packs of nectar.
Oh, cool.
there's just a slight almost like a white cheesiness with a little bit of old dust. Like you just open something old and dusty.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
I
Well,
was even on the nose, like it was like hinting to like woody leatheriness, like soft woods and stuff. And then on the palate, I get that as well, like this really nice texture, um, like malt and wood and tobacco.
Got apple juice and like a little bit of fennel on there on the palate. There's like
Yeah.
a big disconnect between nose and palate, but both are awesome. But like This is one of the most
There,
unbalanced whiskeys I've seen in a long time.
yeah, there's this big punch of like kind of like fruit in there at the same time as like that dry maltiness.
There's it starts to lean a touch like white wine like acid on the sides of the palate, and it's really it's funny that you like, I don't know, I'm not sure if I would say it's disjointed. It's actually a really nice dram to start off with because I'm kind of finding it just like very mild and mellow, even because this is at 50 something percent, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's straight 50%, and I guess that's not that much higher than your average drinking strength, but it is seem more mellow than that. Like it actually drinks closer to like that 45, 46 to me, which is kind of cool.
I'm not finding the same notes on the nose and palate though. That's what I mean by unbalanced. Like I'm not seeing a lot of carryover except for a little bit of florality there. But what was the price on this one, Shawn?
It's
Kind of on screen.
539, 540 for that guy. Now, yeah, okay, that's sort of what you say, like the kind of disjointed between the nose and the palate. The nose I was getting a bit more of now going back to like fermenting beer, like a little bit of that fresh wort, but not fresh like making it, but you're almost ready to stuff it in the still.
A little bit
Interesting.
boozy.
Yeah,
Sammy,
I mean, I don't think it drinks very hot, but I don't feel like it's light. Like it has a maturity to it, that I think is quite rounded. I really like it.
Kevin, come on, man. We're all on Team Harmony so far, I think.
Sammy,
Sammy,
No, yeah, I love this drum too. Yeah, I mean, like, it's actually floral, but it's not like, perfumey floral.
nailed it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's that thing when we talk about floral a lot of times, it's that really, really sharp, like biting, artificial floral kind of thing, like when you're walking through the bay or something like that, where anytime I'm drinking whiskey that takes me into those entryways of the bay or anything like that, I'm like, I'm out, not my jam. This is, you're right, it's more like you got a bouquet or something in front of you, like proper floral. I like that.
now I don't have the most experience with Glen Grant. Like I think some of the ones like back in the day we would get like those really cool old GNM bottlings that they used to have and stuff like that. And I got to be honest, like when we were getting those, I wasn't really as focused as trying to nail profiles as much as I was just to try to get a plethora of whiskey on my palate to expand it.
Mhm.
Would you say you wouldn't be able to guess what this is? Now, what do you normally associate with the traditional Glen Grant?
So this is a little bit of a tough one because I've been extremely spoiled, as have all of you guys. I've been so fortunate to try a lot of 1950s, 60s, 70s Glen Grants. It was weightier. Some of them in the early ones were like a little bit peaty on some of them. Like they just had a more smoky robustness, a little bit more leatheriness. And a lot of them were in sherry too. Like there were some fantastic old Glen Grants. So it was just kind of a heavier spirit on the one hand, but also fruity and like well-bodied and everything. It went through a phase where the 18 was like on everybody's lips and tongue, kind of like Highland Park 18 was. Had a great reputation then, and it's kind of gone downhill for the core range now. But I think the distillery, like you said, Shawn, the people like Angus and stuff that are in the know, they know how special Glen Grant. And I think we have to be aware too. We talked about this with BALMY and stuff, that every distillery has cool casks, every distillery has cool whiskeys. But what we get from them from their OBs is the vision of their master blender, master distiller, whoever's putting it together. So BALMY, David Stewart for 50 years. So whoever's putting together the Glen Grant range right now is blending to their specs, right? But that doesn't necessarily speak to what's in the warehouse. So I think it's a distillery that has way more character than the core range gives us. And I think when you get into the indies, you kind of got to hunt and peck a little bit and try a whole bunch of different styles and just look for that DNA kind of down the middle. I'm struggling to find it in the core range right now, and this is, like I said, very atypical for what I would expect. But those of you guys that do like Glen Grant, drop some comments in if you agree or disagree, because I want to know, because it is a distillery that I think is overlooked, and I don't think a lot of people talk about the style of it nowadays.
Well, I know Andrew's talked about it, being spoiled, having the opportunity to try casks from the 40s, 50s, and 60s from the distillery, like they just shone, and like they shone because they were bottled, I think, by Gordon MacPhail, and they just do things a little differently. And that, I think, for me, that they were my first experience as well. Like having people share crazy old beautiful bottlings, and I always found that there was still vibrancy in their older spirit, and like that fruitiness that you can always find in Glen Grant, that I always found very appealing, very pleasant. Like it's just a spirit that makes me happy, and I always want to try them.
Now I think recently, Curt, I think you brought in. I don't remember if we have the new line open at work or not, but I think you brought in was it the 18 or the 12 that you actually had all of us kind of all of us at the shop taste. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was like last September or August or something like that. This, even at 25 years old, I can see the threads between this and what we have now, or what I had then, where it still maintained a little bit of that kind of creamy. I'll suppose that as like largely the barrel, but like that light barley forward, a little bit of orchard fruit, a little bit of like that wininess, and then but I don't know. I thought translated really nicely, but the age and the elegance that especially like Harmony you were mentioning before, it's I really like how that shows through on this one. Yeah, I think that was a good choice. That was a good pick.
Yeah, Rockstar, the first one.
Right on.
Cool. All right. Well, let's keep going then. So the second one we got coming up. So we actually have a pair of Glen Elgins on the table for you. This is fun, like yet another distillery that I actually don't really know that much about. I do know that there has been a handful of Glen Elgins making their way through the shop through independent bottlers that, like, upon tasting it, it really turned my head. Some of them ended up being like just really kind of cool old school style whiskeys. Some of them start leaning a little bit, at least one or two of them kind of started leaning into that, like almost like Clonelish territory. Was a little lighter and wax here, which I really enjoyed. This guy here is from one of our favorite not distributors, bottlers, Elixir Distillers, via the Single Malts of Scotland label. This guy is part of their reserve casks. Let me share my screen here for you guys.
Yeah, parcel number 8.
Yeah. All right, parcel number 8. Sammy, is this one of your
Yeah, I love Glen Elgin. I mean, like we don't see a lot of Glen Elgin except from the independent bottlers. So yeah, because most of the Glen Elgin official bottle actually stay in Europe or go to Japan. Yeah, never really make it to North America.
Yeah,
And
fair.
also most of the spirits actually go into White Horse, brand whiskey, which we don't get it here in North America. Yeah, so far for the last few years, every single Glen Elgin I ever try, I never have a bad one.
Cool. It's
And
so fruity.
yeah, and also they're actually very I would say inexpensive, because I know most of the Glen Elgin I see at the shop is somewhere between, I would say, 10 to probably 15 years old most.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
Yeah.
something super affordable. Yeah.
Yeah, Harmony, you started with fruit. I think there's also like there's some cool notes of polished leather on the nose where it starts to. This isn't super old or anything, but and it is mostly bourbon. I think it said 8 hogsheads that went into this batch. They're also bottling it just slightly higher at 48, which personally I'm thankful for. It's almost like they're giving the middle finger to the standard 46% almost, just because it's just a little bit more textural that way, which I quite enjoy.
Yeah, there's a cool sour fruity tang on the nose to that I really dig. And sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say wine gums at first too, but then I feel like I'm drawing on a wininess too much lately, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a little hesitant.
I think I agree with that. The wine gums has that sour kind of tangy fruitiness I'm talking about. I think you actually gave it a better descriptor than I did. And I like the peach note that's coming up. I was thinking that right off the bat, but just as you did, I was like, oh, I said peaches on the last one. Am I just putting it in my own head here? And yeah, Sammy's been quite passionate about Glen Elgin. He actually has inspired us to do that as one of our next tastings for my whiskey club. So we're tracking down some cool Glen Elgins. A distillery, it's a little bit challenging. There tends to be like that little bit of like a spirit sulfur, like a weighty kind of spirit, old school style, like Craig Elgin in a lot of ways. It takes to loud casks. And if anybody has one of the OB 16-year-old cask strength Glen Elgins from years ago, I am hunting for one. I fell in love with it. It is sulfured, which is really weird for me. I haven't had it in many, many years, so I'd like to try it again and see if I can get past the sulfur or if it's too much for me at this point. But if anybody knows where to find one of those cask strength 16s, I think it's probably about 10, 12 years ago that came out. And I'm hunting for one. And I think we all have to look at these SMOS parcel bottlings a lot more. I've had a couple of them lately that are absolute crackers.
Oh, they're doing fantastic things with their reserve casks, I think, and they're priced fantastic. Typically for the reserve casks, there's nothing over 120 bucks. They're doing wonderful blends, bottling at 48%. The cask choices, I think, have been really good so far, and also they're not bottling anything at an age statement that the distillery would do themselves, which is respectable. Why compete with the 12 with the 12? Yeah, I'm a big fan. On the nose for me, this is a little bit more, like you said, sour and peaches. To me, it was peach yogurt, because there's some creaminess there. It's not like full on dairy, but that was my first thought. And I love the acidity on it, on the palate here. It's quite nice.
We're spoiled. We talk about it lots. We don't have to drink young whiskeys very often. But if I'm drinking young whiskey, this is kind of the style I want. It used to be all peat for me on the young ones, but now I just want this kind of style.
Totally. And honestly, like, so like 108 bucks. So at 46, now that I contrast it versus the Glen Grant, there is a noticeable 48%, sorry. There is a noticeable change, even though it's only like 2%. This actually is such a really comfortable drinking strength. And I almost wonder if 46% might make it too flabby. I think it's a really good call to keep it at what it is. And it's bursting with so much of those like fruit flavored candies on the palate too, that I don't know, I'm really impressed with it. I think if I were at a bar and that was the only bottle that they had there, I'm like, all right, call my friends, we're just gonna hang out here, and I'm fine with it. I mean, I'd rather stay there and you drink that than travel with risk of a worse bar.
Yeah, Kevin said kiwi in the chat. I think that's a really good call. Maybe a little bit of watermelon on the nose, just like I agree, very fruit driven, very nicely done. But I do think there's some nice tannins and oak in there at the same time on the finish that just makes that fruit shine.
Neat one. Sorry, whose pick was that? That was Sam's?
That's me.
Yeah, no, Sammy.
Sam, did you pick both the Glen Elgins then?
Yeah, I did.
Attaboy.
But we don't see too many Glen Elgin. Like almost every single year, we only have like 2 bottles come to the shop from different independent bottlers.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I want to see what you have to say between these two then. I want to see what your preference is when we do the next one. Because they're the same age, aren't they?
No, they're different. Yeah. One is, like they're very close. One is a 12 years old, the other one's a 13 years old, I think.
Oh, they're both labeled 13 here. Did we mess up?
Oh, did we? Oh, I'll double check here. No, they're both 13 years old. Yeah. Actually, come to think of it, if you guys want to start contrasting the next one and this one at all too, I mean, same distillery, different bottlers, obviously, different kind of casks, but
the color though to the two, like when I was pouring them out, the second one side by side, it almost had like a pinkish hue to it, like it was a little bit redder. It's definitely not bourbon like the first one's like all bourbon casks. This one looks like sherry or wine cask.
No, Cadenhead, the one finished in a Mussolini cask.
So I honestly, like, even on the nose, so like Manzanilla as Manzanilla, yeah. And so this has like Manzanilla it's not like, so in terms of sherry, I think it's younger and a fresher style of sherry. When I have like this, it's one of the ones that I actually enjoy drinking. It's quite light. It's kind of I think it's a form of Fino, if I remember correctly. And there's typically, from the area that it's made in, there's a little bit of a salty salinity brininess on the sherry, which is, again, I absolutely adore it. I love it with just like, like an ice cube, or just sipping it in a bathtub or something, or sipping it by the bathtub. But you still have a little bit of that the funky floor for from the sherry on here, and I think I don't know, like I'm feeling I get some of that funkiness on here. Like this has a really cool unique nose.
It's stinky.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is funky. I adore this. I like the last one, but this one smashes the last one for me. This is crazy cool. Not a cask type I would normally love, but this is a like really kind of rank and musky weird one that I'm really, really digging on.
It is so strange. I can't get past the funk. Sammy brought
It's
the funk.
yeah.
It's kind
It's
of
got a note of challenging. It's a bit challenging, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
almost a little bit of like a rumishness to it on there too. Just a hint of like,
it's
yeah,
got a
that's a
little bit of
weird.
that pet cage note happening. But also like some underlying notes of like flat pop. Like there's like that sweetness in there, those cherry cola notes.
Oh, okay, yeah, interesting. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of like I was thinking root beer at first, but you're right. It's more cola forward.
That's tiptoeing up to that point of like just staggering that drunken line where I'm okay with the wininess, but any more than that, I would not be okay with it on the palate.
Have you tried it? Have you
Oh
tasted it
yeah,
yet?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I dig it. I like the nose more than the palate, but I'm really digging it all the way around.
So this is kind of neat. So couple things that I about like Manzanilla. Now I'm not gonna. I think this was okay. So this is finished over a year in Manzanilla. I do wonder what it was in beforehand too. Like some of these sherry casks, obviously they're going to impart a color in the whiskey, and this is something that I've asked. I've asked Marnie, our wine staff, like some of our wine staff, like Eli and Jeff and whatnot. Manzanilla and Fino are like lighter than white wine, but somehow those casks still impart a generous, or sometimes not super generous, but modest sherry coloring on the whiskey. And I can't figure out what that's from. I don't know if it's a recharring of the casks. I don't know if it's like,
Do you think it's an oxidative effect on the wine that is left in there somehow? Like
it
if you
could,
eat a
yeah.
piece of fruit, if you've bitten an apple and left it out and it starts to brown, or when you finish a glass of whiskey, even if it's a light bourbon cask one, and you go back to see if little remains in the glass the next day, they kind of darkened and got a little hazy and everything too. So I wonder if there's some kind of continued chemical activity that's coloring what was left of the wine in there more than anything. Because you're right. Why would it be taking more color? It's
I,
something I've thought about a lot, but we've never actually discussed.
there's part of me that, well, I mean, so yeah, you might have a point with like the like oxidation of whatever wine is left over in there. I guess it could also be like the interaction between the wine and the wood is so little that there's still wood essence to give a whiskey after the fact. Yeah, it's tough to say. Either way, it's not an answer I've been able to find out. Maybe I gotta kind of look at it on my own there for something more, because we get the same thing with like Cavalan's Fino, same thing. Like it's the same color as a standard sherry cask. Although with there, I'll give them a bit more leeway with their climate and whatnot. I'm sure the interaction with the oak, of course, is forced a little bit more.
And they do a lot of STRing of all of those casks, like wine casks. It doesn't matter. Everything's going through that flamethrower. Not everything, but most is going through their little. They love that system.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure most of you guys like are also kind of quite familiar with Cadenhead. They've been around for like 180 years now. They're right in the heart of Campbellton there, but they got a couple shops around the UK as well. Uh, Awesome people. We've had a fantastic relationship with them for at least as far as I've been at the shop, but probably a little bit longer than that. I have to be honest, like this specific collection that we have of them now, like the original collection, I see a little less traction on people purchasing those bottles nowadays because there's a little less transparency as to what was going into the bottle. I had to go and dig a little bit to say, oh, this one is X Manzanilla for whatever a year or whatnot. It's not quite so forthright unless you go looking for it, which is, it's kind of a shame in my opinion, but also because like if you just see a shelf full of gray labels without any differentiation except for the distillery, I mean, you can see a challenge, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if another reason maybe Sammy picked this is because, well, also we just need to try some of these Cadenheads because we haven't opened a lot of them lately. And I mean, I think they're a fantastic bottler and I always enjoy what they do, but we don't give them the love that we used to. and it's not necessarily all our fault, I would say, but I would like to get back into it because, like I said, they're such good partners, and and I'd like to show off their stuff a little bit more.
We're all
Yeah,
friends here, right?
yeah.
Let's talk secrets. Lean in, come on, get close. So recording doesn't hear everything we're saying. They don't give us the love right now either in a lot of ways. And I love Cadenhead, one of my favorite bottlers too. But so much of what we've had come to our shores has been less than exciting. They've been 10, 11, 9-year-olds. A lot of them finished, which I hate to say this, kind of hinted at it before, but to me, finishing is lipstick on a pig. You didn't have a great whiskey, you felt like you needed to put it in something else to dress it up a little bit. But it was kind of a slap in the face when their higher strength stuff was pulled back from Canada because they didn't have enough for over there. Their bottlings in the shop are so much better and so much more interesting. So we don't show them quite as much love because they're not really giving us as much to love. But the recent run of bottles we've got has been really good. All the ones we've tried. Age statements aren't what we used to get, unfortunately, but there's some really cool ones coming out. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think one of my biggest issues with them is like they went from having these really transparent bottles with labels on the back that said, you know, a blend of 2 of this cask, 2 of that, 1 of that, this many bottles, and you got that little neck tag with a little profile about each bottling. And then they just went away with that. And like you said, the ages kept getting younger and there was less information about what you were getting. And the market's so saturated. So what am I buying? What am I risking my $100 on? And for me, it became a risk factor of like, why did you stop telling me what you were doing?
Yeah. Give me the
And
information.
finding that information was hard.
Yeah, agreed. Nailed it.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a little less of that going forward. I don't know if this is a line that's continuing or not, but I do know that they're starting to change over a little to, I think the taller square bottles for most of their stuff. I think we might start seeing a little bit more single cask stuff. I'm not sure if anybody in the tasting tonight ended up going home with any of the Enigma series that came out like last September. I mean, I was quite impressed with those. Like it was a cheap 25-year-old, was it 25? Yeah, that cheap 25-year-old blend. I mean, I don't know how it sat so low in ABV, and it's getting wrecked in the ratings on Whiskey Base, but it's genuinely a good whiskey that is super easy to drink, and it kind of drinks a little older than it is too. Like it's really elegant. And then the Campbellton blend, like I mean, well, how could you shake a fist at that? It was Hazelburn and Kilkerran. I mean, they've still got some guns to show, right? Like they've got some stuff to show off. I hear I don't know if we're going to see it or not, but apparently there's an Enigma Isla that's coming out at some point, or I think it was released. I just don't know if we're going to see it in Alberta or not, and like that'll be kind of fun. And anyways, who knows? Like, I guess we just gotta keep pushing so we can get some of the cool stuff.
And I think we have to be fair too, because we hold the bottlers, the distilleries, but in particular, I think the independent bottlers to a preconceived standard that we have. It's like expecting a behavior of somebody else and being upset when they don't give you that behavior. I think we have to realize that their stock levels are going to ebb and flow. And we just came through a crazy period of whiskey over the last decade and a half. Obviously, it's going to eat the hell out of their stocks, and now it takes a bit of time to recover. That's why we've seen the younger things. That's why we've seen them trying to adorn kind of boring whiskeys and other cask types, I think, and dress up their stocks like they have to. They're just making adjustments.
Yeah.
It sucks for us, but I think we have to go, okay, this is a little bit of an ebb period for them. It will.
Oh, did Curt freeze? Oh, I think you just froze on the last little bit there, but you're back. Yeah. I also wonder if there's a part of it like where like creeping up into COVID, all the distillers like got super spooked. And before that, when everyone stopped selling, or not stopped selling casks, but anyone remotely sought after stopped selling casks. And so everybody quickly held on to anything that they might deem slightly valuable with the risk of the taps never being turned on again. So we had this weird dry spell where we weren't seeing a whole lot of the big like workhorse popularity distilleries, right? Whereas now, when it looks like the industry itself has reached its peak and starting to I'm not going to say decline, but it's definitely starting to like crab walk a little bit down. We're seeing like signatories releasing a ton of Macallans, and who else released
Gordon
Oh,
MacPhail
G
said
G and M. Yeah, totally. Yeah, G and M. So now we're seeing a bunch of those. We're seeing a little bit more Isla stuff coming out now. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really exciting time for whiskey over the next few years when people are releasing more cooler stuff, and the prices are going to start, reflecting kind of a little closer to what they should be.
And in the
Yeah.
next little while here too, it's the absolute case of this is where the rich get richer, right? When everybody else is divesting collections and when these companies are having to drop prices, if you've got the cash flow, this is when you're going to scoop up the coolest stuff in the next 5-10 years, I would say. So if you got the flow,
Absolutely.
Now's the time to build your collection. I think over the next few years, it's gonna get interesting. We've seen it, right, Shawn? The auction houses are going crazy. Like there's more in auction houses now than we've seen in I don't know how long, and prices are going down because of it. So
they're starting to. It's slow, but it's happening. All right, we should keep going on the next one here. I feel like we got a little bit caught up there, but I was super excited to try this next. This is the right one, right? Am I thinking that? Yeah, I was super excited to try this one, and I'm really happy that Harmony picked this because this came as a part of a trio of blended whiskeys that was done through the La Maison de Whisky through Compass Box, and I couldn't even begin to tell you a reason why we didn't open any of them, but we didn't open any of them, not even a single one, and I think we ended up like. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
it was
the
really
labels.
disappointing that we didn't open any of them because I thought they were all really cool. I know that they were created as a 5-part, and only 3 came to Canada. So that I thought was cool, that we saw something. I know La Maison de Whisky is a big deal in France. They're recognized for selecting and bottling fantastic whiskeys, and rums actually is another spirit that they're quite known for. The series 11 that was done for La Maison de Whisky is actually 11 bottles, but the 5 were part of a series that were done as what they called a Aristotelical theory philosophy. So they named each bottle Wonder, Fortitude, Generosity, Confidence, and Wisdom. And this was the confidence bottle. So I chose it because I was being confident in choosing one of the 3 that we had without knowing anything more than it was Compass Box. I did recommend a couple of the bottles to one of our customers, and they emailed me saying that like they loved them, they were fantastic, they were gifts, and they went over really well. So I had to try one. And this is one that I had not sold yet and had not tried, so I hadn't had any feedback on them. Besides it being from Compass Box, I literally could find no information on it. So
On the nose, no worries, man. On the nose so far, immediately, like you can tell that it's not super grain heavy, which is kind of how I like my blends. But there is a little bit of how many lowland grain distilleries are there? 1, 2?
I think most of them have historically been lowland. Girvan is lowland.
Girvan, yeah. So I'm not sure which one this one's from, but either way, lowland distillery, Highland, couple space sides, and then a parcel of what they did put into the circle, which was one that I didn't like when it first got released, but grew on me after the fact for sure.
Is North British lowland? Is that stupid to say? I know it's called North British, but
I
guess the name wouldn't make sense.
it means a Highland British, but
I'm pretty good with my distillery geography, but I can't lie. There's only a handful of grain distilleries, but I just don't care enough about them to know where they are really. So,
Totally.
this is neat though. I think we all so there's no two ways about it. Those bottles are gorgeous. As soon as they came in, those labels look incredible. I wanted to buy them just because I love the labels. But we didn't open them like Shawn said, so none of us really knew what they were, what we were getting into, and I don't think anybody was willing to take a flyer because the price is not you're not throwing out $50 here, right? So I'm super glad you picked this, and now I want to find a reason to open all three of them together.
Yeah,
Do you
they
have
have
all three?
the Fortitude, and it's like mostly Kalila or like sorry, peated spirit, and I really want to try that one too. That's the green
Cool.
label.
Do you still
I
have all
haven't.
three, Harmony?
Yeah,
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 I think
still have
so.
all three. Yeah,
Cool.
there's not a lot of them left. There's a little bit more of this one than the others. And I think a part of that is just it's a lot easier to sell an unknown, unnamed peated whiskey than it is to sell an unnamed whiskey.
I think there's something neat here too that's super unique. We haven't basically an independent bottler, like a blender, who has released kind of an independent bottling through somebody else, essentially. Like it's a weird situation that I've never really seen before. Like it's
Well,
an
it is
independent of an
weird.
independent in some ways.
Yeah, because we also had like the Bunnahabhain from them as well. Like the 40-year-old that we had was from their bottling. Yeah, it is really interesting. And actually, we just got a couple other independents of an independent this week from Gordon MacPhail from the Whiskey Explorer or Whiskey Society. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is actually. Yeah, with this was it the
The
Whiskey Explorer? Was it Mike?
Yeah, but is that actually Mike's cask medallion?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. It says the Whiskey blank Society. I think it's Society. But yeah, like that's really interesting. Like it's one thing to be like, oh, it's a Canada bottling, or it was bottled by this import agency for Canada. Those are cool. We've seen those through like Cut Point. But yeah, to carry somebody else's bottling, I think it's a cool partnership, a cool opportunity. I don't think it speaks to, well, if they can't sell it, then why do we have it? I don't think that's the point. I think it's a partnership of the brand. And I'm really happy with this. This is really enjoyable. It's got a really pretty nose. Like you said, Shawn, it's not super heavy on the grain. There's definitely some malt and body in here.
It's hard to come to grips with. It's like I would demolish this. Like it would be so easy to drink a lot of it, but I'm really struggling to find any real high notes or any real low notes. I just want to drink lots of it. Like it's kind of like when you have just refreshing drink that you just keep going back to, like a good beer or whatever. I really like the profile.
Yeah, it's just a taste, like a very just deliciously crafted whiskey.
It is.
The alcohol on it does kind of creep up a little bit more for me on the back end, like especially through retronasally, but not again, for me it's more textural than anything. It's the malt underneath everything is just so nice and full and kind of round and voluptuous, and yeah, no, I think that's a banger.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. I'm glad we chose it.
Sammy, did you have any notes on that one?
Yeah, actually, quite enjoy this one too. Yeah, it's actually, has a lot of modern whiskey in it, and it's so easy to drink, even though it's 55%.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, what is it? Sorry, 55.
55. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I won't put water in it. I don't think it needs it. I think it'll just do wonderfully. I like the comment in the chat about it, reminding them of a young distillery, the Penderyn, from the SMWS, pretty wacky. I absolutely loved that bottle. It was like super fruity, fruit sour candies, and like just a touch of oak on it. And yeah, this is quite similar actually, but very cool. About a blend. Yeah.
Now we totally didn't really like plan to do it this way, but it seems like most of these almost paired off with the exception of yours and Sammy's. So that's all you guys. And now the rest is like is Curt and I, and somehow we ended up getting, well, not quite side. Oh no, ours is split up too, I guess. Yeah, we all Curt and I alternate. So
Well, this was fun. We'll see you later. Bye.
yeah. All right, we're done. I could have joined now, and I guess it would have been fine. Y'all wouldn't have known the difference. All right, well, let's head on to the next one here.
Yes.
Yet another bottler that's fairly close to our hearts, very close with the store. With the reason of like we are one of the few stores in Canada that actually get this stuff, and B, the people who bring these into the wonderful couple who bring these into the country are good friends of both Andrew and the shop as well. So yeah, Scotch Malt Whisky Society by Rob and Kelly Carpenter, and this is one of Curt's picks. This is an 18-year-old Auchentoshan.
I adore this whiskey. This is 110% my style. This is a distillery that is probably one of my top 6 or 7 at this point. I've visited there a bunch of times. Their core range is not even worth looking at. It's, if somebody's pouring me a dram, I'm going to drink it, but who cares about these 40, 43%ers? But there's so much incredible Auchentoshan, single casks, indie bottlings, things like that. The distillate from that distillery is off the charts. I've tried incredible casks there. I've bought distillery bottlings. Don't sleep on indie Auchentoshans. They're so cool. So this one from the Society, I think, is gone now, but the 5.96, is it gone too now, Harmony?
They're both in, I think.
Oh, crazy. So
we got more. I just held off. I think there's some more in our allocation, but we held off for the tasting.
I have the last 4. They've done, I think, 4 now, quite not consecutively, but recently for us, 18s and 19-year-olds. 3 18s and 1 19, I think, and all of them are absolutely rock stars. Such a cool, robust, oily spirit for something that's triple distilled, so intense on the flavors. It's so rich, it's juicy. The fruit tones are incredible. Like, this whiskey is everything I want in this style. Absolutely everything.
Did you try the 5.96 that came out last month?
No, I got a bottle though, but I haven't tried it.
And
you'll love it.
If we had held on to these SMWS bottling, we'd be absolutely lousy with 18-year-old Auchentoshan right now. It's actually really impressive, just the quality of the parcel, whatever parcel of barrels they ended up getting whenever they got it. It was like, man, yeah, it's just so impressive. And each one, obviously some are a little bit, might like tiptoe above the others and whatnot, but each and every one has just been so enjoyable. And honestly, like with the quality and the maturity and how we don't really get much old Auchentoshan, I think the price is still like, it's quite reflective on what it is.
I love the palate weight on that one. It's a little bit hotter than I typically go for. I typically like 46 to 52. It's my ideal, but this has a really nice mark, really nice palate weight. We talked about that kind of disconnect on the Glen Grant earlier. This to me is like perfect balance. Nose and palate are absolutely in sync. I'm getting what I should be getting on the palate from the nose and everything. I want lots of this.
Yeah. I added a little bit of water and it stands up. It's like, it's so oily in all the right ways. It just coats your palate and just has a beautiful weight to it.
Yeah, that's my little Auchentoshan, get all passionate and whatever for you. If you get a chance to go visit, the people there are awesome. The distillery is gorgeous. I think it gets a lot of visitors because it's it's the closest you can get to in Glasgow, that and kind of Glengoyne. So it gets kind of the casual tourist, but I think a lot of whiskey people just overlook it for whatever reasons. Go there.
Well, I think they overlook it for the core range because the core range isn't exciting.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's your stepping stone into whiskey for most people, and then you move on and you can't go back.
Yeah.
You
but
appreciate
also,
it for what it did for you, but you can't drink it.
I'm not sure how many people are going directly into Glasgow for whiskey reasons though, right? Because like you might departing from Edinburgh or head up north or head directly to, Isla or whatnot. So you might pass through, but I mean, that's exactly what what Andrew and I ended up doing. Like we were just waiting for a flight actually, and we had to let's stop by Auchentoshan, and literally all we did is take a photo, go into the gift shop. I just went and saw if there was anything cool there that I might want to grab, and then we left. It would have been nicer to go through an actual tour, but yeah, c'est la vie.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess now we have Glasgow Distillery too. And
Yeah.
is there one more too? Or
Yeah, Clydeside.
right, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, but for a while they were like Auchentoshan was the only option. And let's be real, okay, those other distilleries, the young ones, they're cool to visit. No two ways about it. But if you're going to a distillery in Scotland, go to one that's got some history. Go to one that's got some warehouses full of whiskey that you can try whiskey, not just new make spirit and 3-year-olds maybe or 4-year-olds or whatever. Again, you get into Auchentoshan and some of the stuff you can try in the warehouse and some of the exclusives and stuff they've got there. It's really hard not to fall in love with it. And the tours there, off the charts cool. One of the best guides I've ever had in my life was there. I wish I could find it quickly here from my last visit there. It's one distillery, and I'll bring it up and I'll hold it up a little bit later just so I don't hold you up. But
Sammy's drinking Auchentoshan out of a jar there. It's really
I love it. I have a photo I'll show you because they triple distill. They like to brag about that. They like to talk about their distillation regime a lot and stuff when you visit. I've got pictures, and the only distillery I've ever seen this from where they've got their new make spirit that they bottle for you to see, and they also bottle the foreshot separately and the faints separately. So you can see how all three components look, because we always talk about how, oh, it's fainty, or, oh, they were too quick into the foreshots kind of thing. When you can actually see what the spirit looks like, you're like, holy shit, I see why you concentrate on the heart of the run, because those kind of look nasty. I'll bring you up the picture, but educationally, quality whiskey, whatever, if you ever get over there, don't sleep on visiting Auchentoshan. You're probably going to fly in and out of Glasgow. Go see Auchentoshan. Off my soapbox now for a sec. We'll find that photo for you.
I like the palette. It's got this like really nice, like kind of chalky minerality on the finish that kind of reminds me of like Sweet Tarts candy.
Oh.
Or like rockets, even.
A little bit Julying from that minerality too, I think.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. I'm liking this like bright fresh pineapple, maybe even a hint of papaya on there, like nice fresh limey like notes. So I guess it's the only like truly triple distilled without like cheating with a straight neck still or anything like that. And I guess another reason why I like these bottlings that we've had is I think they've all been either refill or first fill. This one's first fill, I believe, and it's still, even at 18 years, that first fill bourbon isn't really oversaturating it with anything. It's still a very spirit-driven whiskey that is the kind of thing that I've been really digging in the past like year or so, where it's you kind of get like that the personality to the distillery still regardless. And yeah, having this slightly floral, fruity, like nice spirity tone is, yeah, I'm digging it. I love it.
I want to be able to pat the distillery on the back for what they've done, not pat the previous bourbon maker or winemaker or whoever on the back for a great cask that they've managed to pass on. Love the distillery, love the history, love Scotland. Make a good whiskey, put it in a barrel that lets the whiskey be the star of the show. Don't let the wood hide it. And I think you nailed it, Shawn. There's a nice spirity note here. You see it all. It's not too hidden. It's cool whiskey, I think.
All right. I think from here we're going to head into. Oh, sorry. Unless Sammy, I don't know, Sammy, did you have anything to say about it?
No, I actually quite enjoy it. For me, it's like like you said, pineapple, lime candy. Yeah, like for me, I actually love Auchentoshan. I actually been to the distillery before.
Yeah, nice. Do you like their core lineup, or is it mostly?
No, I don't. Just this.
That's fair.
But when I first started drinking whiskey, that's some of the bottle I will go to buy. But now I'm into a lot of different type of whiskey. They're not really something I will go to buy.
Sammy's into a lot of different types of Glen Elgin these days.
Yeah. So. just verticals and horizontals.
Yeah.
Don't know if you can see that very well. That big dark band on that, it's like a bright turquoisey green. So that's the foreshots and all the copper and nastiness that's going into those foreshots. It just sits as this heavy green band on top of it, and everything under it is like hazy and nasty looking. And when you open these bottles and you get to smell through them in the still room and see how different they are and see what they cut for their spirit cut, as soon as you open that New Make spirit, you're like, oh my God, it's like perfume compared to these bits of nastiness on either end. And you kind of see the distiller's art where their cut means everything. Finding that sweet spot for all the fruitiness and none of the nastiness. It's cool to see.
But like a nice perfume, not like the Bay.
That's right.
So is everything they do triple? Like, do they ever do a double distillation?
I don't think they've ever done any double distillation. Well, I shouldn't say never, who knows historically, but I have never heard of them doing any double distillation.
Cool. I think that I like that. Yeah.
It's just one more thing to like not differentiate, sorry, tear down the boundaries between what was originally like, oh, Irish triple distills or like Isla only peats and all that stuff. No. Everyone does everything, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Well, and it's just goes truer to the fact that what I think we as a group have believed for a long time now is with modern science and distillation methods, regions don't mean anything anymore. Like
No.
you can make whatever you want, wherever you want. And it breaks my heart, and I want to scream when somebody walks in and goes, I only drink Speyside whiskey. It's like, Speyside's new. They've been around 20 years as a region. So what did you drink before that, since you've been drinking longer than I've been alive? So it's so infuriating, and I want to smack him and say, hey, get out of your comfort zone, because there's so much out there. But at the same time, go ahead and keep it, because there's more for me and my friends who will appreciate it.
I think there were some hard lessons learned too coming out of the last crash in the late 70s and 80s. I think a lot of distilleries started kind of variegating their warehouse in a way. Let's have some of everything, all different colors and shades and everything, where they're doing some peated stuff. They're even doing peated stuff at different levels in Speyside and stuff like that. They're putting it in all different kinds of casks. Because I think the biggest drive for all the closures in the early 80s and into the 90s even was redundancy. They like to deny it nowadays, but really it was, because it was a blender's market at that point, because everything had crashed. So if you've got multiple distilleries producing the same style, and everything that they're producing is coming out of the distillery in that style, well, you don't need them all. What are you going to do with it? It's boring and there's not enough selling. So I think most distilleries now are trying to have a portfolio that's wide. It's got the depth as well as the breadth. So you say, hey, you can't shut us down. Look at this. We've got this that's being, going to this blend, or this is going over here, or whatever. So I think there's a lot more, like Harmony said, the regions mean nothing anymore. Absolutely nothing. Kilchoman, and I think I mentioned this at one of the tasting, Kilchoman is starting to do some unpeated whiskey. That is unbelievable. Never expected that from literally one of the heaviest peating in Scotland to do unpeated. It's going to be so cool. Shawn, let's do Kalila.
All right. So we're moving into Pete Town on the last three here. So this one's mine. This is about as obscure a bottler as you can get, because I don't even know, like, he's technically a bottler, but he's actually a champagne producer, not really a bottler, right? So there's a gentleman that we have been working with in the store for, if I were to just take a guess, I would say almost 2 decades now, but I'm not entirely certain. But his name is Gilles Dumangin, and he is a champagne producer right in Champagne proper in France there. He's one guy, and if I do remember the story correctly, like this lot was kind of passed down from his parents, but he's got some siblings that didn't really want anything to do with it, and so he's like, well, okay, I'll just do it. And so it's pretty much just him, and so he has this. It's a modest but serious operation, like anything, right? Like he does everything, by the craft and whatnot. But I mean, I don't know if he hires anyone. I think it's just him. It's like some machinery. But anyways, either way, we've been stocking his champagne forever, and his champagne is stunning. fun fact. Okay, I'm gonna forget which one it is, but his regular champagne was the house champagne. I'm gonna say it was like Kate Middleton and is it Harry? Whatever. One of the couples of the monarchy crap. It was their house champagne, but it's so small that not that many people know about it. Totally fair. So another product that he makes is called ratafia. And for those who don't know what ratafia is, like ratafia is actually just like a general term for infused spirit. But when it's in reference to like ratafia de champenois or from Champagne, what it is, it's unfermented grape must. So essentially just grape juice from the Champagne grapes that is then spiked and fortified and it's kind of like stabilized with neutral grape spirit. And so essentially it's like neutral grape spirit with the flavoring of juice added into it. It's not a super common thing. I've had ratafia from South Africa and maybe just a small handful of other countries. And it's always very nice. It's very similar to, it's not port, but it's almost similar to port. Like you could see some similarities, right? Like especially if it's
Yeah.
barrel aged, you get a little bit of that oxidation on it, and it's actually quite nice. A lot of his stuff does go through a little bit of from barrel maturation, and with those used barrels, he wanted to do something else kind of with those barrels. So what he ended up doing, he started sourcing casks of whiskey to be able to finish them in his ex-Ratafia casks. Andrew likes to say that like all the winemakers are secretly whiskey lovers, and for Gilles, it's no exception. Like he's come and visited the shop a handful of times, and he goes into our back room or the back room where we have just shelves and shelves of our open sampling bottles, and you can see his eyes light up with hearts in them, and he's just like, "Well, what do I want to taste?" Like, so he's definitely a champagne lover, and we've only recently started getting his casks, like I would say in the past 3 years or so. And as you can like as you saw with the label, it's like a powder pink box, and it's not like it's not what you would really associate with the drink whiskey. Like it's kind of counterintuitive to what the branding of a whiskey might be. And so, with that said, we don't sell like a ton of it, and I'm fully convinced that's part of it. But every time we do end up opening one up, it's actually quite nice, and we have access to some pretty cool stuff through him. Like I think we had a Balcones, which was absolutely stunning. That one's long gone. We had a Pendrin that was also brilliant. That tasted like dark chocolate covered raspberries that I absolutely fell in love with. Now I think we've got older Invergordon. We got this Kalila. I think we have a Jameson and a Bushmills, or maybe one of those is sold out. I can't remember which, but
It's a Cooley and it's still
oh,
there.
yeah, you're right, Cooley.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
my bad.
But we did have the Star Award from Australia in the calendar this year, and I think it was received pretty well.
Oh, right, that's true. Yeah, the Star Wars, the Australian single malt, and that one is actually quite nice too. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah. But we definitely don't open a lot of our Dumangin casks, which is kind of a shame considering we're the only ones that sell them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, like that's about as exclusive as you can get in this country.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
so
nose on this is crazy.
yeah,
It's
I
Curt's
think like
favorite.
when I first poured this, it was actually a little too winey for me, but so we've been sitting here for almost an hour now, and most of that is actually kind of blown off, and this is, I mean, it's pretty typical Kalila on the nose, I'm finding, but you you do get some cool like macerated red berry notes on there that I'm quite digging.
Is it weird that I got asparagus?
Maybe.
Uh, I don't know where that
Maybe
came
it's a
from, but
Caol suggestion, but I kind of see it, Harmony. I kind of see it.
Okay, so now the softness of this on the palate is pretty cool. This one's it's bottled at 47.2, so again, just slightly above like your average whiskey, but it's got those cool, soft, like slightly sweet characteristics, but the saltiness comes in when it's starting to borderline on that seafoodiness, not full on, but you get a little bit of you get like little notes of that on there, which starts to that's more of a little bit more my style than the straight up meaty barbecue note. Pretty
It
cool.
looks
It's
like
nice
bell
and
pepper.
Sorry, bell pepper? Yeah.
Yeah, on the palate especially, a little bit of like red pepper or almost into a spicier pepper.
Yeah, a little spicy, a little like burnt orange peel. Not quite too bacony. That's what I'm really digging about it. Yeah, I like this is a cool Kahlila. This is more up my alley than some that I've had in the past. I don't like that extra bacon, like double bacon uh Kahlila.
With bacon note. And Kahlua is
Yeah,
good.
it's too much for me. This has a tiny little bit of it, but I like how this starts to lean a little bit more oceanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, harmony's right. Anybody want to trade with me?
This is not Kurt's cup of tea. I know.
Yeah.
I was talking to a customer today about when Andrew is doing the first like 2 minutes of a virtual tasting. He's like, yeah, these are the tastings that are coming up, and you can tell when he's excited and when he's not. And when he's not, his way of selling a tasting is the worst salesman attempt ever. Yeah, so there's this tasting with the staff. I don't know, they wanted to do something, try some bottles. Yeah, it's a weird one. There's like a bunch of wine casks in there. Oh, and a rum. That's a fun whiskey tasting. So yeah, sign up if you want for that. Uh and it's like, thanks, Andrew. Oh, but coming up next, I'm doing this one. Oh, and rainbows and butterflies and my dog's in it.
We need to
And then
cut
the
that little
next
clip and put that on our Instagram KWM Whiskey account.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
funny.
that's Andrew to a T, and he can find that excitement in numerous types of tastings that are not his idea, and I just think it's hilarious. And then the next day at work, he's like, "You guys need to push those tastings."
Yeah,
Yeah,
we should make it a point to like just glance over all of his tastings. Like, it's about a bunch of 40-year-olds. You guys don't want to drink that. Yeah, you need to try this, but check out this rum tasting.
gin is in, people. Yeah, gin is in. What we should do is just put little question marks over all his photos on all the tastings. But I love him for that because he's passionate about his passions, and you can't fault him in any way. You know when he likes something. He just gets excited. But I remember him talking, this one's got a bunch of wine finishes in it. Yeah. And I was like, Kurt's gonna love this.
You know what? If there's one thing I can say like for Andrew with these virtual tastings is there's part of me that genuinely feels that these virtual tastings like revitalized a love for whiskey with him, where like now he's able he's able to express himself a little bit more between more people, and it's not like in-store stuff was always great, but he rarely, after a while he didn't come back for as many to do the in-store tastings, whereas like this he's doing almost all of them, and it's actually really nice to see. I really enjoy hearing his stories, so it's quite
Me
great.
too.
100% agree. And like you say, reinvigorating that passion is so key because he is still a geek at heart, right? Like he's not just the guy that owns the store and whatever else. He's not just doing this because it's the job at this point. He loves the
Yeah.
stuff. And when you give him something really cool, he lights up like he used to do too. So you're right. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, he's funny. I enjoy it. I enjoy his quirks. Kurt, you're up. Laphroaig Cairdeas, Warehouse 1, 2022.
I was looking forward to trying this one because I don't think we haven't opened a bottle of this yet either, and it's one of those ones that I probably grabbed, but then I just tucked aside because I've got other Laphroaigs open.
And we did a Laphroaig tasting, and this was still hidden and tucked away and not in that. So
Yeah, we've been sitting on this for a while, haven't we?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Laphroaig, obviously. There are no bad Laphroaig bottlings coming out of the distillery. There's the kind of boring select, but otherwise it's not bad. It's just boring. Why would you do that to Laphroaig? It's neutered. They're always good. And I would say I get more consistently excited about Laphroaig releases than I do Hardbake releases and stuff.
No.
Edition, the Elec edition, the Origin, all of those old school ones. They're all good. And I would say I get more consistently excited about Laphroaig releases than I do Hardbake releases and stuff. There's edition, the Elec edition, the Origin, all of those old school ones. The Those are the ones that got me excited. And then every year when they started doing something in different casks, you start to get a little bit, okay, well, this is going to this wine and this is not going to be good because of this. But everyone has been cool. And there's been none that have been whiny and none that have been something I didn't want or anything. And some have been rock stars. So I think Shawn and I were talking about this one. I can't remember if there was anybody else with us, but they did a 2015 bicentenary bottling for the distillery, the Carchis 200th anniversary. White and green on it. I can't remember the ABV exact. Well, maybe 0.15. There you go. Shawn's got it in hand.
Yeah, I got it right here too. Where my camera there?
Incredible bottling. If you've got one, pat yourself on the back because it is such a brilliant Laphroaig. One of the best in the last decade or two. That was done with, so they've got an odd still configuration. They've got 7 stills, the smaller one, instead of having even pairs. So that was distilled in smaller spirits still, that whole run. And it was entirely floor malted and it was matured in the #1 warehouses there. It was an experiment that John Campbell wanted to do before he ended up moving on from Laphroaig and stuff. When that came out, we all just went, holy crap, what is this? And I went around scooping up as much as I could. Sadly, I think I got 1 bottle after something. I wish I had more. When this one that we got in hand came out and it said Warehouse 1, I was like a kid at Christmas. We did a little happy dance going, oh my God, it's going to be a part 2 to that. Having tried it, it's not the part 2 to that, but it is incredible. This is my style of whiskey. I love that Laphroaig always brings that slightly green wininess. I love the slightly licoricey note behind it. And I don't normally like licorice. I love the orange. There's always orange in Laphroaig for me. I love how oily it is. I love the sweetness. It's not as citric and bitey as Ardbeg. It's just a really mouth-coating oily whiskey. And this is my style of Laphroaig. It's a little bit more naked. It's the whiskey topping, not cask topping. So cool draft I wanted to share with people. I had tried it. I didn't have my bottle open. I do have a bottle, of course. And Harmony was wicked. She tucked this one, and I had one other one I picked too that's still sitting at the store. So I won't say what that one is right now, but it'll probably come out in the future tasting too. Although every time I go in, Harmony wants to buy it. This cask or this bottling to me, it was cool. And Shawn, I'm really sorry, but I'm really struggling with that Kalila. But this one, I will happily trade you for if you want.
That's fair. There's, no offense taken whatsoever. So okay. So you said this one wasn't really part 2 of the 2015 edition, but I do have to wonder if they did play any kind of shenanigans with like the malts or anything, because I'm finding, well, it's a nebulous age. We don't know what it is. Like maybe you can like, it's 52.2%. So maybe you can draw something from there, but it does taste like the peat levels slightly vary compared to other Laphroaigs. So I do kind of, part of me does wonder if maybe they played with a percentage of floor malting, maybe, like, because there is a nice like smoky barley tone that's a little bit more I don't know, essence of than in the general releases. However, that could also be the Warehouse 1. I'm not really sure. But yeah, you're right. It's not obviously it's not 100% the part 2 of that one, which was such an incredible bottle. But I'm actually like, I'm glad I have one of these, absolutely, because this is actually a really excellent example of very kind of typical of Laphroaig. But like I said, with the peat, just to me, it's slightly tamped.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cool. Sammy, what do you think about this one? I know you're a Laphroaig guy too.
I actually quite like it. It's just like, such a long time ago, last time I tried, one of this. So I cannot remember. I have nothing to compare with. I do love Laphroaig.
Okay, I will open a different bottle of Carchis then for you, buddy, and I'll bring it in on my next shift. And you'll have
that was a rum. This is Laphroaig. Yeah, I love this. Yeah.
Oh, it's so fruity on the nose. I also get a little bit extra of that kind of seasidey note on here, which I'm gonna say is likely from the Warehouse, but I have to say.
I was thinking like, as it just sits on my palate, like raspberries and rhubarb. And it's so cool. And I love that ashy, oily, kind of salty. I said black licorice earlier. It's really cool. It's really good.
The juiciness on the palate is so cool. And that licoricey note can get dangerously close to that rubbery note we talk about in a lot of peated whiskeys. And I love how Laphroaig carries it as like a thread, but without it being like the big backbone to it.
Yeah, I think it does a nice job. Like it shows that it's there, but it's not for me. It's like I'm not afraid that licorice is going to come and take over, and I'm just going to be chewing on all sorts for the rest of the night. That's not a fear in their spirit.
Yeah.
Oh man, I might have to. Oh, cool little. I'm getting like a finish of like cinnamon hearts on there too, which is kind of cool. I'm gonna have to save the rest of that for I think a second pass through personally.
Okay, Shawn.
Yeah.
Okay,
Jeff
so
said it. I kind of agree with Jeff just by nosing ahead.
I'm gonna wreck everyone's palate here.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Yeah, like I had to cover this up as soon as I poured it. I literally had to cover my glass. It is so potent.
Wow. Okay, so in case you haven't known yet, we're moved on to the rum, which is my pick, my last pick. I had to stuff this in here for a couple of reasons. A, because I love rum, and B, because this bottle has been getting some pretty hefty praise, and I just wanted an excuse to open it and share it, and because I love the bottler, and I really want to try everything that he's releasing, even if it's way out of my price range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin's like, speed round first!
Oh,
Exclamation point.
should we do a speed round first and finish with it? I don't know. I mean, we could go back after this and just see if how much it like. Yeah, no, it'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
We did it for Rest and B. We can do it for staff picks.
Totally, and that was kind of funny. It's funny when we ended up having to like put the whiskey after the rum after the peated whiskey. That was cool.
That was so great.
Okay, so this is a particularly old barrel from the Clarendon distillery. The Clarendon you might also recognize it through the name Monty Musk. Monty Musk is the sugar estate and the sugar factory that sits in that area. I believe it is what do they call it? The Trelawney Parish, I believe, is the same parish that Hampton Estates is on. Clarendon is. They've had a history in that estate since I think the late 1700s. Obviously, it's changed hands a bunch of times. The sugar factory on there. Well, the sugar industry is not what it used to be anyway. So, luckily, I think they're still growing sugar on the plantation, but I don't think I'm not sure if they're producing sugar, to be honest with you. But they might just be producing it, selling it as bulk, and then using the molasses. Anyways. Clarendon is one of two distilleries in Jamaica that's owned by a large conglomerate called the National Rums of Jamaica. It's partially owned by the Jamaican government. The Planetary Rum Company, which used to be Plantation, but they changed the name because Plantation it revived unfortunate memories of past kind of thing, so they changed it for conscious reasons. And I'm gonna say the last one is, I think it's the Guyanese government, but it could be Trinidad. I think it's Guyana or someone in Guyana. Anyways, either way, so this is a sponge bottling nose. So that I mentioned sponge. I think we mentioned at least once in this tasting, maybe even twice. Angus McRailed. I wouldn't call him a friend of the store necessarily because he doesn't know any of us by name, but it is. But he's done a couple tastings with us, and he's done. Oh no, you know what? He must know Andrew by name because he did a bottling with Andrew's face on it and Walter. So yeah. He's Andrew's friend. Anyways, but he's definitely like a man with a palate that I both look up to and feel slightly akin to, because I do greatly enjoy his many of his things on very similar levels to what it seems he does. Anyways, I'll show you the label of this one too. Unfortunately, this one's sold out, so y'all are out of luck if you don't have one already. I'm sharing my own screen here. Hang on. Try this again. There we go. All right. So funny little label with a weird hand-drawn sponge on there. I didn't end up having to do any tasting notes on it because to be perfectly honest, it's sold fairly quickly. And then I had some stock issues where I didn't actually know if I had one left or not, so I didn't. But I'm going to show you this too. When I said this had a little bit of gravitas to it, Rum X is kind of one of the it's probably one of the major rum rating sites. And the page here is kind of like the best ofs 2023 releases. And so we had like their top 10 rums here, and we got that guy right here at number 4, which is pretty big guns because these are some pretty cool looking bottles. And running 4th place in one of the main sites, actually, I don't know, I respect that. I think it's quite excellent. Shameless plug as well. Number 8, this Enmore we have in store right now. And number 7, the Clarendon, which is actually a blend of Clarendon and Coroni, also a sponge bottling. Apparently we're getting. So Angus has 3 of the top 10 spots in the best rums of 2023, which is pretty darn cool if you ask me.
Very cool.
Anyways, yeah. So all right. And I guess part of what's special about it is we don't really get, well, there's been a bit of a push now for a lot of those old Jamaican rums because the industry is kind of at its high. But if I remember correctly, I think this one was almost entirely matured in the tropics, which is not very common because it's so hot there that they just can't, like the barrels just don't really survive that long. So to be able to get something like this and have it like so super saturated with its wood, but as you can smell, it's still maintains such a hefty, like crazy estery profile, like after 25 years, man. Well, I mean, not that fades by any stretch. In fact, it'll actually, the esters will go up as it ages in wood, but it's
To me,
got
this is
that.
like,
Yep.
this is like a sarsaparilla cocktail that was wrapped in like Calgary construction road tar kind of, but more plastic. Like he said it earlier. I think Jeff said Amazon plastic. Wrap, like if Amazon ship me a sarsaparilla. Like,
That's very cool. Yeah. I agree with that plastic note for sure. And Sammy also said a little bit of Kalamata olive. Yeah, I agree with that too. I wonder if it's like a bit of a maybe, I don't know how close they are to the sea, so I guess I can't really say anything about the maturation. But it is a molasses rum. It's not cane juice, so it's not because of like whatever the cane is growing around. But man, some cool like licorice jujubes, some like really like harshly condensed like sticky pineapple syrup in there. So much wood and leather though, like you can smell the wood tanning coming off on the nose.
Oh yeah.
This is where I get my king, Shawn. Holy cow. This is a rock star.
Sorry, can you repeat the first? Can you repeat the first part you said? You were cutting out.
Yeah, I said this is where I tip my king over. You win. Game over.
It's a cool rum, man.
Oh man.
There's a cool like mentholated tobacco note on the finish. Like the ABV meshes really well.
I get like dental notes, like whether it's like anesthetic or dental glue or something like that. I get that kind of ozone-y spent electrical kind of thing going on. The tropical fruits on the palate are like mango and papaya and guava and everything that's slightly just overripe, where everything's just deeper and richer and just a little funkier for it. That palate is stunning. We need to chase more of this. I need a bottle of this so badly.
Honestly, and you like it's almost unfair to put some of these rums in some of these tastings, not because they're expensive or that we don't have them, but like we talk about having a bottle of whiskey open on the shelf for a year and seeing how it develops. What I'm starting to learn is that happens way more intensely with rum. Like bottles that I have on my shelf change so much more than bottles of whiskey that I have on my shelf that it's crazy. Or like bottles that we have in the store that I might have tasted in our virtual a year and a half ago, I'm revisiting. It's like, I didn't like it then and I absolutely adore it now. Like it's so cool. And I think this is one of those bottles that like if you really slowly nurse it, it could turn into like this really cool fruit bomb even more so than it is.
I have fallen harder for more rums than I have whiskeys probably over the last 6 or 8 months. I'm regretting not chasing some of these bottle ones a lot sooner. This is awesome. Good pick, man. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, man. I love hearing that, of course, because I mean, everyone should be drinking more rum, I think. But yeah, I appreciate that. Kevin seems to be struggling with this one. All right. Well, I mean, luckily we only have the one of them, so you don't have to, you don't have to. It's not too much of a stretch, right? But if you haven't had many in this like level of estuary strength and funkiness, I'm glad you're having it, because these are still experiences that I think that are really important for you to taste, especially if you're a spirits fan. Like I want to try everything a little bit except for absinthe. Sorry, Sammy, I don't want to try your absinthe. I'm not interested in taking part of your tasting. But either
So
way,
Sam, you
like
like a lot
yeah.
of these. Sorry, Shawn.
Yeah, sorry, no, yeah.
Shawn and I think Eli sometimes buy bottles of rum and they split them amongst them and stuff. So I know Sammy's a big rum guy too. And I know Shawn, Sammy, and Eli kind of guided me to some cool stuff too. What do you think, Sam?
I actually love this one. This is actually not like as funky as like the African rum Shawn gave it to me a year ago. That one I cannot pass my nose. Yeah, but like
That's totally fair.
it was actually quite cool because a year later I actually tried again of the same rum. It's actually quite enjoyable after he has been sitting in the bottle for about a year.
Yeah, you're right with like the funkiness of, so the African one that I gave you, like that was so that's a fresh cane juice rum. And honestly, as they start to get intense and funky, cane juice rums can get way more challenging than something like this. This, I think, still has the approachability of not being too briny, not being too olivey, not being like, but like the molasses seems to create a more neutral base for the estrus to build upon and the spirit to build upon, which I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, how good is it? It's great, right?
Are you talking about the Bira?
Yeah.
The Bira, or maybe even the Holmes K.
Okay, yeah, those are wild. Yeah, I agree. I think this is very approachable, and I appreciate it more than I have others that we have tried. I
Sounds like there's a
had
big
no
flat there,
idea.
Harmony.
No, I had no idea there was this world of rum. I literally didn't know. Like, I thought everything was like soft and fruity and fluffy, and you mix it in Coke or you don't, and it's great. And it all tastes like caramelized fruit. It's cool to discover like the fruit on steroids in a sense. Like
Yeah.
it's just totally cool. But I still think I'm a whiskey girl at the end of the day. But I like
Totally
it.
fair.
I like it. Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's very cool.
Oh,
Brent says it reminds him of Bundaberg. Yeah, maybe some of the higher end Bundabergs, maybe.
I'm not a Bundy guy.
Okay. Do you want to do a quick run through of them again, or?
Yes.
Okay. We can make it quick.
Quick.
Okay. So first one was the Glen Grant, right? I'm not really finding it's changed too much. What do you think, Harmony?
I think it's more intense now. I think like the fruit's really found itself. Or maybe
I think the real base, like the earthiness of the barley is starting to come through a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, I got a bit
I would
more
agree.
kick on the palate. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a bit more vanilla.
Yeah.
Sorry, Curt?
A little more doughy. And Sasha says Play-Doh. I think that's kind of where I'm at too.
Okay, yeah, fair. Good one.
Yeah. Salty, kind of hay, barley kind of notes. I really like it.
Jeff says it tastes like Clarendon rum. Take a glass,
like,
take a sip of water.
Guys.
You always bring a light beer along to try and cleanse your palate.
Mine's got electrolytes.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, so the first Glen Elgin. Honestly, This first, oh wow, this is
Oh, this is
like a
so
like
pretty.
tutti fruity jelly bellies, and like it's almost
Strawberries.
it's like a gum, but I don't know, not juicy fruit, but some sort of gum.
It's like a
It's like
honeycomb, like like the gumminess, from a honeycomb.
Okay, cool. Oh man, this actually had like this is a really beautiful nose right now.
a beautiful nose. What's the price on this, Shawn? Do you still have your
Was
windows open?
Yeah, I think it was
No four, I think.
108.
No, it.
Yeah, 108.
Oh,
In case
take my
anyone
money,
was
single
in case
malt
anyone was missing
Sammy.
it. But all right. Curt, any feedback on that one?
I'm gonna save it until we do the other one, and then I'll tell you my
Oh yeah,
opinion on
fair.
them together.
Okay.
Ooh,
All right. Well, we'll move ahead. I will go there now.
this
I'm
nose just reminds me of hamster cages.
I'm actually on the man the knee. I'm actually getting almost like a watermelon rind almost, or some sort. No, maybe cantaloupe. Cool. This is actually really nice too. This develops beautifully in the glass.
There's a little bit of like that hamster shaving thing going on for sure, but there's also so much, there's weight to it. It's like the first one is a bowl of fruit cocktail, and the second one is sticky toffee pudding compared to it. I think they're both cool. I love the delicacy of the first one, but this second one is just so different. So I don't know, there's a weight to it. I want lots of this one.
This one has a bit of like that, like a little bit of buttered popcorn like note on it. Honestly, it's so cool how these both develop so nicely in the glass. Sammy, these are your picks. What do you think about this one?
Well, I like it. Like the first one is actually, the fruitiness actually coming through, a lot more. For me, Glen Elgin is always, got a lot of like, honey, maybe like a hint of like, like peach, like, that's why, I actually quite enjoy it. For me, it's like a dessert.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good call. Yeah. All right. Let's take off to the next one, which is this is the Lemmaison de whiskey, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
the confidence.
Oh, so much like Popeye cigarettes on the nose.
That's a good
Yes,
call. Like that kind of
that's a
marshmallow.
great note.
Yeah, like marshmallowy can powdered sugar.
Oh, and Brent too with the chocolate, almost a little bit of Ovaltine or something. Yeah, good call on all these things
Cool.
you're saying.
Very cool note.
Wow, that one probably changed the most for me the first time around.
Yeah,
Man, it's just straight up a pleasant drink.
I think I liked the nose better the first time, but I think the palate is way better the second time through. I'm really digging the palate weight.
Yeah,
there's
that's cool.
so much chocolate. Oh,
Awesome. Sammy, anything on that one?
No, I actually still quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
Yeah, let's say, it's like, a little bit of like, like for me, it's like a milk chocolate with
Yeah.
Malteser.
Oh, cool. Yeah, nice.
teaser. I was thinking arrows without the bubbles.
So milk chocolate. All right. So this was the Auchentoshan, right? Okay, Auchentoshan.
Sorry.
God, I love this so much. Obviously you guys got that earlier. That's like a bowl full of Pez candies and stale jujubes to me. There's so much fruitiness there, a little bit of chalkiness, like those Pez candies would have. Sadly, my glass is almost empty, but I'll see if I can get a little bit on the palate.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, somebody drank my summer drink.
Somebody that looked just like me.
Oh, yeah, it's so nice on the palate. This honestly, I think this probably changed the least so far, to be honest with you. It's very, very similar to what it was when we first poured it.
That
might be
very
because
consistent.
right?
yeah, the clean spirit, the bourbon, I guess, but I mean still like that triple distillation, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's yummy.
All right, Kalila. Starting to smell like some barbecue chips, which is a little less what I enjoy.
And a bit like
What?
the pads of your dog's feet.
Holy shit. What the hell?
Why are you smelling your dog that close?
Yeah, like
It's
those
the thing
Stand
with
on
dog feet.
everything.
they
She's
smell
like-
kind of like peanut shells kind of thing. Like
Yeah, absolutely. Like peanutty and kind of popcorny.
totally. I understand what you mean for sure.
I was gonna say if it smells like nachos or that's a fungus though, and they should get it treated.
And if anybody's going to sniff their dog's paws after this, please don't take them for a walk or out to the dog run or anything first, because that's not the kind of notes I'm talking about here.
Clean puppy paws. Okay.
Clean puppy paws. Nah, I can't do it, Shawn. Sorry, buddy.
No worries, man. I do not take offense to it.
Why are you sending me all these angry texts then?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, that's a wild one actually. I like the palate more than I like the nose.
All right. We can
It's cool.
and Sammy, unless you have anything to say on that, we're gonna keep moving on.
Yeah, for me, on the palate, I actually taste like a bit more wine now. It's for me, it's like a bit of like grappa taste.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Totally. I want you to speak. I want you to speak. I want you to interrupt me, Sammy. I want you to like start like speaking up and like interrupting me.
I'm not loud enough sometimes.
Pretending he's Eli.
Yeah, totally. I
you
can
doing
pretend
this
I'm Eli.
You shut him down. All right, what's the next
All right.
one?
Oh, the Laphroaig, naturally.
Naturally.
It's so good on the palate. It's so fruity and oily and mouth-watering. There's no tannic grippiness at all. I love the prickly tongue attack. Great.
The nose is kind of like just generally deadened a little bit over that time. Like it's still there, but I'm maybe it's through everything else we've gone through, but I'm not getting quite as much of everything at the next pass through.
I
Give it a
fully
good
agree with
swirl.
you, Shawn. The nose is very muted.
Give it a good
It
swirl and come back alive. And on the palate, it is still absolutely kicking. Corn chips, they build ya.
The palate's starting to come a bit more mezcal smoke, like a little vegetal. Maybe
I see that.
not lactic, but definitely a little vegetal. Yeah. Either way though,
I love
more
that.
lime.
Yeah, for me, it tastes like celery stalk. Yeah.
Good note.
Ooh. Mm,
Corn chips, celery salt, lime. That sounds amazing.
it's hungry. That's really good.
Wonderful. All right, and that stupid thing at the end that ruined everybody's experience for the rest.
I get a bit of like proper maple syrup on the nose now.
Oh, cool. That's a really fun note. There's more like industrial, almost automotive, chemical-like notes that are coming through now as it sits, it seems. I can't really pinpoint it, but
Like the leather smell when you buy a brand new car.
well, there's definitely a lot of leather in there, but I'm also thinking like a mechanic shop, almost like a solvent, I guess. That makes sense. There's like all those like another like what is it? Ethyl acetate, I guess. Like it becomes pretty solvent to you in high concentrations, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of that in here.
Yeah, this is nice. I get these like really deep raspberry notes in here, which I like.
That's very cool. Yeah. I can't say I get them myself, but that's a wicked note.
Raspberries are good.
Yeah, who doesn't like raspberries?
Concentrated raspberries. It's not like one raspberry. It's many.
That one also seems to have changed the least, kind of like it's really just a big monster, like monolith that's just kind of standing there unchanging.
Mind you, we only had it 5 minutes ago. Before
5 minutes ago. Yeah. I should have, and I couldn't taste it right when I poured it because then I wouldn't be able to taste anything else.
That's right.
Anything else? No. Well,
Very
Shawn,
cool.
did we have a poll for tonight?
Yes, I did manage to put the poll together as other people were talking.
You're amazing. Evan who, I say.
Yeah, I know. I don't need Evan to do this. I did it myself. Oh, but I didn't change the title. Okay. Anyways, so ignore the title. I'm pretty sure the questions are still correct. Yeah. And then the bonus question in the end, it doesn't matter. Like you could say what you want. No one's going to take offense to the picks that you have for any of this. Obviously, we're all too good sports for that. Okay, so let me, Curt, do you want to go through maybe your two favorites of the night? You can pick your own, but don't feel pressured to.
No, I can't even pick my own, man. You got the number one for sure. I adore that rum, and I'm grateful you picked that. I'm
Cool.
chance to taste it, and I'm really sad I don't have one. So I'm gonna try to find one, try to find somebody that'll trade me one or something, because that lights me up and I want to try more of it. And then I think number two for me would be the Appleton. I just love it. That one really wows me.
Cool choice. Cool choice.
I think I liked literally all of these whiskeys tonight, except for the Kalila. That one, the Ledaig notes really were hard for me.
Now, I don't know if you could see that the poll in the end, but if you were to choose a pair based on who picked what kind of thing, was there a pair that you could say come out over top?
Dude, you'd have run away with it for the sponge alone if it weren't how much I dislike Ledaig.
No, honestly, I don't agree with you personally. I think there's a selection here that probably came out on top.
Yeah.
For me at least.
Oh man, that's a really hard one. The Glen Elgins were so fun to compare and contrast. The Compass Box that Harmony picked was a surprise, and the Glen Grant was really damn good. I think maybe Harmony's, because I'm not going to pick my own. That would be a dirtbag move. So I think Harmony's for me.
Okay, cool, fair. All right. Sammy, what do you think?
I still like Glen Elgins. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay, so
That's why I picked
so
it.
are other Glen Elgins your first and second pick for first and second place?
No, I actually like the rum, better than anything else I know in this lineup. Yeah.
Cool. I'll take that.
And the second pick for me is the SMOS Glen Elgin.
I think that's also a good pick. Absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. Harmony.
I have to disagree. The rum sponge was the worst whiskey in the lineup, but was the best rum.
It was the best rum in the lineup.
Honestly, I thought this was a really good lineup. The one I struggled with the most was the Cadenhead Glen Elgin. That was my biggest hang up for me. So I'm going to do the honorable thing and vote for Curt's pick because, yin yang here.
Yeah.
I thought they were both great.
Cool.
The Auchentoshan and the Laphroaig. I don't give Laphroaig the respect or time that it deserves. And every time I try it, I realize that I've never purchased a bottle of Laphroaig. And I know, you can't fire me. You're not my boss. He's not here now. But I've never given it the time. And every time I try it, I'm pleasantly surprised. So thank you, Curt, for reintroducing me again to a bottle that I think I need to give more kudos to.
Thanks for suggesting we tuck those bottles aside for a future tasting.
But I'm also very glad we did the Glen Grant because still like Glen Grant, but ultimately the Laphroaig and the Auchentoshan and the SMOS Glen Elgin were big game changers. Obviously the rum was the best rum.
Sorry, Harmony. So, would the Auchentoshan and Laphroaig be the first and second place too there, or?
Yes.
Okay. In what order?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think I have to say that I'm gonna have to say the rum is my number one. It's selfish and selfless because rum doesn't belong to anybody, right? And then as number two, I'm gonna say the Laphroaig just because I just love it. I adore it. But it was a hard decision. It was very much a hard decision. And for the pair, I'm gonna go with Kurt's that Auchentoshan and Laphroaig, I think, because the overall quality, when I averaged the two out, that was easily my favorite of the two.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. This
But
was
you
a
already
fun
had the
tasting.
checkmate with your rum, man.
Yeah. Sorry?
I said you already had the checkmate with your rum. It was
Yeah,
enough to
it's
kill mine off for me.
I enjoyed it. I it was, you know what, I wanted to try it so bad. Okay, I'm gonna share this poll because everyone's answered here. So let's see how it worked. Wow, the Kalila and the rum. Wow, this is such an even spread. That's so cool. Everyone just liked a little bit of everything, but the Kalila and the rum sponge kind of creeped out ahead in the tie for first. That is
Yeah.
very cool.
Who are we firing from this tasting group?
No,
Who's the weakest link here?
no, dude, it was fine. Like it was, dude, that Kalila was fine. It was fantastic.
You're all
Okay.
broken. The rum broke you.
The second favorite by a long shot was that single malt of Scotland Glen Elgin. Now I wonder if
Listen,
that's also the price too, because I mean at that price, that is a wicked whiskey. Cool. And then the Glen Elgins also took it for the pair. Hey, way to go, Sammy. That was you.
Yeah, but I got second. I want kudos
Yep.
on second.
I'll take it for sure. You get it. You get it, man. All right. Oh,
That
so
was super
cool.
fun.
That was so much fun. I want to do this stuff again. I'm glad we were able to, like, okay, so first of all, everybody who attended, I'm super glad you attended. This was honestly a bit harder to sell because although we took, like we took a feedback from people when we did this last and everyone wanted us to do something like this. Not everybody quite got it. So, I mean, kudos for you guys for taking a chance with us and, tasting some of the things we wanted to pick. But yeah, that was so much fun. And I love doing a tasting with you guys. So, I mean, I would love to do this again.
Yeah, this was fun. I think we've all learned though, like this group is small, obviously, but we've got all the cool.
Sorry, I forgot to share the results if you guys want to quickly look at that before we go.
I think we should do it more often. I think the biggest trouble selling this tasting was the write-up. Could have been done a little differently. But that's okay.
Andrew Selden do it?
Don't let Andrew do the write-up on a tasting that he isn't a part of. That's what I like.
Honestly, this was originally based on something that Evan, Andrew, and Hunter did back in the day, and it was in store. And it was a blind tasting where they each picked two whiskeys. I selected the order and didn't tell anybody what they were tasting or when it was, like, or what order it was. And what they did, and then they all they did was guess at what it was by nosing blindly, and the people, the attendees, picked the top three at the end without knowing who picked it or without knowing what it was. And that was kind of the original idea. And we could do that again here at some point because that might be a little bit of a different way of doing it, right? But that was kind of what it was at first, and it turned into something else. So totally fair. It's partly on me, partly on Andrew.
I like that idea of doing like a blind staff picks. It could be a lot of fun.
Totally. Yeah. Because it was a ton of fun in the store. Absolutely. Yeah.
I even asked Evan, I was like, who did we pick a lineup? Who picked a lineup? And did we open bottles? Because like I know we drank the heels of the leftovers from some of these bottles, so there was nothing to do tastings with. And he's like, yeah, Shawn and I came up with the lineup, and I was like, amazing, can't wait.
Yeah.
So feedback from the chat is this was awesome. No rum next time.
Oh, you have I will toss a coin.
You won't even know because it'll be blind.
Okay, you know what? I can.
Whiskey, rum.
You know what? It's fair. This, because it was staff picks and that was us pick as staff, I can do it without rum next time. Or if it is blind indeed, I will be disclosing of it beforehand. But yeah. If it's blind, it'll likely just be one spirit.
Or we just put it first and go, F you. It's rum. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, screw your palate.
Rum cask, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, we could do it. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Well, I guess if anybody else doesn't have any questions or anything like that, I want to say thanks. Thanks for everyone. Yeah, for coming.
Okay,
This was a Amazing. And thanks you three, because I mean, you know, I couldn't do this without you guys, and because this is it's a foursome.
This is a fun one.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good
Okay.
night, guys.
Right.
See you,
Take care, eh?
people. Good to see you all.
Yeah, that was fun. Go get your Costco hot dogs, Jeff.